So welcome everyone to Sunday here for the first round of the Route 66 Sprint Series in 2025 at KA100 Circuit Whiteland. Warm-up going on for Sunday's main events. Have Heat 2 and Finals on the way for all of you. Had some excellent racing yesterday. Glad you tuned in today. Howdy folks, my name is Nadine. Alongside me, Caleb Vieska doing comms in the booth for this weekend. Caleb, it was an exciting day of racing yesterday. A lot of promise, a lot of us looking forward to Heat 2 and the Finals today. How do you think today's going to go and what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to a great day of racing. First of all, good morning to you, Nate. Good morning to the entire Route 66 crew. To all of us here at Kart Chaser. Good morning to you guys at home that are watching bright and early. Let us know what you guys are watching on this fine early morning. It's a much better start, I would say, than we had yesterday. It's a little bit warmer, not by much, but just by a tad. The wind has kind of died down overnight, so that's always a good sign. And, you know, I'm expecting to see some good racing later on today, right? We have some new entries tonight, overnight. Some people got to the track a little late. We're on vacation or here this weekend, and we're going to be excited to see them hit the racetrack later on today. But, I mean, considering the racing that we saw yesterday, we obviously want to see some of them, you know, provide a little bit more action, and some provide the exact same action that they gave us yesterday. You talk about my favorite race of the day yesterday. 2:06 Masters. What a last lap by Mark Steele and company. Jamie Bradford, I believe, was in that mix as well. So that was a super, super cool race to see. And again, for the opening weekend, the debut weekend for those Masters classes, and for the 2:06 Masters class specifically, that to me was my favorite race and probably the race of the day yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk about getting your product in the spotlight for its first time. For us running a 206 Masters class in Route 66 Sprint Series competition. Provided a lot of action for the 30 karts that were scheduled to take the green. I think we have a couple more today that were able to make it to Sunday, as we have more karts heading out on track to scout the conditions, see what's changed overnight. The 206 Sportsman's definitely put on some good racing yesterday as well, and it was really these guys, the MPG Motorsports team, that put on a show. However, Danny O'Gara was the driver to best all of them before post-race penalties for not having a pushback bumper set installed on the Kart. That was when we saw a lot of his competitors, Caleb, come up to him, console him, and help him out after what was a tough victory. Good news for Danny, though. He's got 2 more races to come back from what was a DQ. It's obviously not going to help his championship points in the long run, but it is definitely not weekend over for the Top Kart squad.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, you look at what he did yesterday. He went from last to first in this race and spoke to him in the cookout during the cookout, and he was like, yeah, it was sad. Wasn't able to hold on to the win at the end, but I already did it once. Now I have to do it twice. And he sounded pretty confident, saying that. So best of luck to Danny O'Gara. Again, a lot of work for him today. He did it yesterday quite easily. Just has to do it again, this time with a pushback bumper bracket. Speaking of the cookout, Nate, did you partake in the cornhole tournament yesterday? If you did, I hope you had better luck than I did.
Unfortunately, I didn't. I was around just talking to the paddock, taking some photos. I saw you and a couple others having fun. It's always a good turnout, the cornhole tournament on Saturday night, so glad to see a lot of people partaking in that. How did it go for you and the KC crew?
It was all right. Myself and Hunter Bolton, who's actually on the other camera outside of this one, he was, we were okay. Round number 1, I'm not gonna lie, I started off really slow. The distance in between boards, I think, was the hardest thing for me to adjust to. And the boards were also super slick, so every time I'd get it on the board, it would slide right off and go through the back of it. So that was a hard thing to adjust to. But we got it done in the end, scored the game-winning point, and then we moved into round 2, and we lost by a lot. Sun was in my eyes, so that's my excuse. I apologize to Hunter. I was like, you know what, man, we shouldn't have switched sides, but we wanted to try something different. Didn't work out to our best, so yeah, we'll try again next year, I guess. I don't know when I'll be back, but yeah, kind of sad. Yeah, it definitely took a while to get over that one, and then yeah, that was pretty much it, but everything else about the cookout was pretty nice.
Yeah, absolutely. The cornhole tournament will be returning for the other 3 races on the year, so I guess Kyle Cuthbertson and the rest of the KC crew will kind of have to redeem the name throughout this season to try and get a win over the course of 2025. You still see 206 Sportsman on track right now. Dominic Gaddis leading the way by 2.5 tenths over Will Fightinger, Danny O'Gara, really the usual suspects we expect up here. There you see the man who had to do it the hard way yesterday, coming from the back of the field after a late entry, got that disqualification for not having the pushback bumper bracket installed. Of course, Caleb, we do have the progressive heats. However, the final is determined on points between the first 2 heats and qualifying. So even if O'Gara does win this race, he's most likely going to be starting around the mid-pack for the final.
Oh yeah, I mean, you have to think about the point system at the end of it. So it should be not too bad of a result for Danny moving into the main event later on. And again, if he can do the same thing he did yesterday in the main later on today, he's probably going to have a better starting spot for that one. But wish him the best of luck, as well as a couple of other drivers here. Austin Taylor, not bad for him yesterday. He was, again, right up there with the likes of Dominic Gaddis. We talked about the 210 of Fightinger. And, this class has really provided us some good racing. Yesterday, we were on the edge of our seats watching these young guns go at it. And again, I assure you it's going to be the exact same thing here later on today. So far in the morning warm-up session, Austin Taylor, quickest, had to find a little bit of speed overnight. After finishing 3rd yesterday in this class, he's found it a 57.359. Dominic Gaddis in 2nd, a 57.494. And Will Fightinger, a 57.568. An MPG Academy 1, 2, 3. Then Danny O'Gara's Top Kart USA machine sits in the 4th spot. Ario Barr, your top 5.
Yeah, Austin Taylor, one of those drivers who definitely has the 1-lap pace that you need in this class, maybe lacking a little bit on the racecraft side of things compared to Gaddis and O'Gara. But that being said, those two have had a bit more experience at the pointy end of the field than Austin Taylor, who's really had a breakout year in 2025 to find himself fighting with two of the best in the sportsman class, and definitely two drivers that can hold their own on the national scene as well. So one driver we didn't see a lot of at the front end of the field was this man, Daniel Dragunov, who we kind of expected to be further up the pack. The new gen driver is just unable to fight for a win yesterday, I believe, coming around the 6th spot. So Dragunov and new gen definitely going to be looking for some pace. They're down in 7th right now, 1.2 seconds off, comes across the timing line again. Does find some time, Caleb, 0.6 off, but that's still a mountain to climb.
Oh, yeah, I mean, 0.6, especially in racing and in qualifying, I guess you could say quote-unquote action. It's definitely seems like a lifetime, but, you know, seeing the quality that Daniel Dragunov has shown already this year early at some national events, we'd be expecting to see him work his way up there and get his chassis and whatever little gremlins he's got going on figured out. But checkered flag in the air. Will Feidinger, quickest of the morning warm-up session. Dominic Gaddis to Austin Taylor and Danny O'Gara. Again, we saw them battle it out yesterday, and I'm sure we're going to see the exact same thing later on today once they get into racing action. Again, for those of you watching on at home, don't forget to become a KC Premium member for $9.99 a month. You can watch all the racing action live later on today when we go into Heat 2 and main event racing action. Nate, we get set for KA Senior, and yesterday it was all about the Wisconsin Wonder Kid, Brandon Lemke.
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon Lemke was doing an incredible job out in front and really ran away with it by a multiple second gap between himself and some of the best drivers in the Midwest, and drivers that can, like we were saying with the sportsmen, can hold their own on the national scene as well. It was an impressive run by Brandon Lemke. He's going to be trying to double up on that performance that he did yesterday between Heat 2 and the final today to get that job done and stand on the top step. But the likes of Quentin McPherson, Alexander Kardashian, Austin Olds are going to want to have to say something about it. They had pace throughout the race yesterday. Really, all they need is just a couple of tenths and to not fight too much on that opening lap, and they'll be able to bring it to Lemke.
And that's exactly what I was about to say, right? You know, you look at the starts that we've had here, and I spoke to Ian Quinn a little bit about it yesterday, and he was telling me, he said, you know, whenever you start the race in a hairpin and you have, you know, 3 big, slow braking zones, everybody's going to be fighting for whatever position that they can get. And if you're in the position that Brandon Lemke was in yesterday, starting on that inside, starting in clean air with nobody in front of you basically, you're pretty much going to be able to run away at the start, because if you start on the outside, you're going to fight with the guy on the inside that's going to be starting third, and that all turns into a little bit of a domino effect where everything just falls right into place for the likes of Lemke and for anybody else who's really going to start on the pole here this weekend to run away early with it. I think more than ever we saw this weekend, and myself and yourself were talking about it yesterday, Nate, where the driver who starts on the pole, as long as he can get away early and as long as he can put himself ahead of the field in the first couple of corners, then the majority of the time he's running away with the race and he's winning it. The only driver that we didn't see do that was Jamie Bradford yesterday. That's obviously due to the drafting factor in the 206 class. But besides that, you know, it's important for these drivers to look at what happened yesterday and to try and learn from it and not let them get away, because that's going to be 2 for 2 and putting them in the best spot for the main event later on today.
Yeah, absolutely. It is such an advantage to have that inside line here at Whiteland. We've seen it before in years past where the dialogue going into Sunday is we just have to get through the opening couple of corners, not dive bomb each other too much, make any moves that don't need to be made at that moment so we can hold on to the leader. You would think by now we would have that figured out, but still more drivers just struggling with that throughout the day. First time across the timing stripe, Quentin McPherson, Ian Quinn, Alexander Kardashian, your top 3. Brandon Lemke not making an appearance inside that top 10, mainly because he just had to deal with some not lap traffic, just a little bit of slower traffic than what he was used to yesterday. He'll be coming across the line to see what the 901 can do, if he can back up that pace from yesterday. Alexander Kardashian was another driver, Caleb, that seemed like he might have had the pace to bring it to Brandon Lemke, but ultimately kind of fell off after just a couple of laps and started to fall into the clutches of drivers like not Cale Zimmerman, Ian Quinn, Austin Olds, and those guys who are running about second, third.
Yeah, to me, for all those names, that entire group of Ian Quinn, that was in that fight. I think Austin Olds was in there, as well as like you were mentioning, Alexander Kardashian. It was elbows out just that little bit too early. Instead of slotting in a line, there was a lot of side-by-side action, a lot of battling, a lot of holding it around the outside, especially through some of the slower sections on the racetrack. So they naturally lost a whole lot of time at the start of that race, and it never really let them get back into the groove. And for the likes of Ian, spoke to him yesterday, already in the morning warm-up, Ian, trying to send it. And actually, I drove this track yesterday, and it's these corners are very, very tight. Our camera angles definitely don't do it justice, but this racetrack is super characteristic. It's bumpy. The Rhino liner, definitely. I heard a lot of, drivers talking about the high levels of grip, especially at this racetrack. John Antonino was saying that he was just stuck onto the racetrack. The same thing with Jerry Fandry, two-wheeling in a couple of places. Kel Zimmerman, he talking to him yesterday, he was like, dude, I almost grip flipped yesterday. Like, there was no way that I could have gone any further because of the high level and the high amount of grip that's at this racetrack, and that's all really due to the Rhino liner and that corner, especially. Turn 12 is another one of the big ones, and turn 14, which is I think one of the slowest corners on the racetrack. Making a move there, that corner, it's almost like a decreasing radius. You go in pretty high, and that corner closes off on you, and there's nowhere to go there usually if you do find yourself if somebody does make a move on you. I was actually subject to Benham Abernathy yesterday, sending a move into turn number 14 and just trying to get through. And here we have issues. Ian Quinn into the grass early in this one, as well as the 943 joining him down there. So we'll put a name on that other number for the 943 that's joining him in the grass. That's Tyler Goldberg. 2 Burrell Art Machines into the grass early, and I will say this grass is pretty thick here, Nate. So it's quite hard to get your cart out of there if you do find yourself going into the grass.
I mean, we've had a lot of rain, so that adds to it too. Long grass, and then the dip between the actual grass and the track surface is pretty big. So if you do go off track, you're gonna have to get out of your cart. You're not gonna be able to drive back on, that's for sure. It's a treacherous layout here at K1 Circuit Whiteland, and it just makes it so if you do drop a tire, you're going to lose even more time. You have to be so perfect around what is essentially a bull ring here at Whiteland to get that lap time. Looking at the lap times, McPherson seems like he's found some pace overnight. He's purple at the moment over Kardashian. Lemke 2/10 back. Don't think he'll be too upset with that. Shane Reddy, one of the drivers who is a senior rookie this year, inside that top 5, and he was fighting for wins in 206 Senior and as well. He's been impressive. Same goes for Cale Zimmerman, who has obviously found some time overnight. He had his cart on the scales. It was a little bent up last night. Him and his dad were going to work at that piece, and it seems like it's worked out for them. They find themselves 6th in morning warm-up.
6th in morning warm-up there for Kel Zimmerman. Back to Perkins, Zerves, Maxwell, and Mason Surgener. Quick break in the action here as some 206 engines do get fired down on the grid. We'll take a quick break to catch our breaths, but we'll be right back with more warm-up racing action.
All the way up to the finish line. Who is it going to be? And it's Sean Perez who wins in Crescent.
Ty Fisher wins $1,000 in KA100 Jr.
Alex Stanfield played it perfectly here. Told him to wait. Stanfield wins the Duffy in 2024 for TV Kart.
Amarillo Kart Complex is now the official distributor for TV Kart in the continental U.S. Become a dealer today.
Hey, what's up, Caleb?
What's up, Brandon?
You sound defeated. A long day at the office?
Yeah, got stuck at a cat food marketing meeting for like 3 hours. I don't know a thing about cat food, and I don't even work in marketing. And then I got sent on a coffee run like I was some sort of intern. Then at the end of the day, when I want to go get gas, I just realized everything is so darn expensive nowadays, man.
Yeah, you got that right.
Like, do you have any idea how much we're spending on Netflix?
That's like $20 a month.
Do you know how much we're spending on cable?
That's like $50 a month.
But you know what isn't expensive?
Tell me.
Kart Chaser Premium. For only $9.99 a month, you can watch all the American karting action live from coast to coast. Subscribe and become a member today.
Welcome back here to Route 66 for the opening round of 2025. My name is Caleb Vieska, joined by one and only Nate Dean. Nate, do you have any idea how expensive Netflix is nowadays?
And it's so expensive nowadays, and cable is too. It's just, I wish there was an easy way to watch the sport I love.
Well, now you can. Kart Chaser Premium. For only $9.99 a month, you can watch all the racing action live. And we hope to be seeing you guys later on for main event live streams as well. Heat race number 2 and the main event of the opening round of 2025 goes live behind our paywall. Again, we hope to be seeing you guys. Super easy to join. Just go to our channel, click the button that says join in the around the description, I think. And I haven't done it in a while, but you obviously click join. And again, card information or Apple Pay, whatever works for you, and we'll see you on the other side later on today. And again, this is one of those weekends where you aren't going to want to miss the action once we get down to it. But on the racetrack now, it was our KA100 Seniors. It is now our 206, I think, Juniors, I believe. 206 Juniors, indeed. Good. Thankfully, I got that right there, Nate.
Yeah, absolutely. 206 Juniors making their way on track. Now, Sam Tutwiler leading the way. On screen, you see Evan Patton and Braden Domont, 2 drivers that were left scratching their heads after yesterday. Braden Domont got the win here last year, talking to his dad and Braden, just saying they're struggling with a rear hop in that Burrell Art machine, and they're trying to go to work on that. Made a few adjustments to the front end to try and tame the rear end of that cart down, because there is a huge time difference between the rest of the field and Brady Schad at the moment. That was one of the races where the leader was just able to walk away from the rest of the field. The 365 Millwright Racing Coyote of Schad currently finding himself second on the timetable there. But like we saw, Caleb, the rest of this field needs to be careful going through the opening couple of corners to not allow Schad to get an extensive lead like he did yesterday.
And especially, I mean, not only that, but the pace that he showed, it was just, you know, he was definitely dialed in. Like, from start to finish, out of the qualifying session, right, Brady and that Millwright Racing crew had that machine just absolutely dialed from the start of it. That PPK Coyote as well on the national scene was rolling from start to finish, and just pace-wise alone, he was significantly quicker than the rest of the field. And again, it's just kind of a head scratcher. It looked like yesterday, but you know, for today, it's, you know, everybody else is hoping to catch and hoping to get there in the end. And like you said, right, everybody's struggling with the same thing, and that's just high levels of grip and trying to take the grip out of that cart. So that's definitely going to take a while, you know, to try and get it dialed in this morning. Not going to be all too relative with how cold it is. You know, whenever the sun definitely comes out and starts beaming onto the asphalt, that's when you start to see the grip level start to rise again. But we'll see it get there, definitely by the end of warmups and definitely by the start of heat race number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And at this point yesterday, we still had cloud cover for like another hour, 2 hours after that. It took a while for the track to actually ramp up. Now, though, of course, the air temperature is still cool, but we have minimal clouds in the sky. The sun is starting to heat up that track surface, so it's going to make track conditions a little different to what we saw yesterday. Probably some setup changes to free up these go-karts later on in the day as it starts to heat up, as the rubber continues to lay down. Haven't had any rain overnight, so the rubber we had yesterday stays on the track. So you have to think for karts that have that more freer setup, that will help them out a little bit more, Caleb, and maybe teams that run that OTK chassis or have much stiffer setups might be trying to struggle taking grip out of those karts today.
Yeah, we'll see how it all plays out for you know, everybody, especially at this point, once you've driven you know, your significant kart for quite some time. It's definitely easy to get that dialed in and adjust where you need to. So we'll see how it goes for these young drivers. But already picking up where he left off yesterday, Brady Schad, quickest of the morning session by 0.07 of a second over Jack Fieber, Sam Tutwiler, Ethan Leroy, and Christopher Yautsy in that 5th spot as well. I was out there with Christopher yesterday on the racetrack too, and I will say there were some good driving out there, some pushing and shoving as well. But Christopher was quickest in the Reynolds yesterday. So if he can, pick up where he left off, I guess late last night, then we'll see that from him hopefully today as well. But checkered flag going to be in the air this time by, and for Brady. Again, you look at the weekend he's had so far. It was a scary moment for him in qualifying. Spoke to him about that. And he was saying, yeah, my dad just thought we had time. We thought we were going to go get some gas, fill her up before we went out there because they thought the groups were split up and they weren't. So when it was time, he went out at the back of the pack and sat in his lap. So he was just quite nervous about it, but got it done. And again, he in his words, he was like, it was funny at first that we weren't there because I was, messing around, sitting in an imaginary go-kart. But at the end of it, I was like, dude, where's my kart? Where'd it go? And again, they got it figured out, luckily. But definitely a scary moment there for Brady. But already, Jack Feber was quickest of that session. So looking to take the fight later on today to Brady Shad and try and challenge for the #1 spot for those races that are coming up later. But getting set to go out, Micro Swift getting set, and yesterday it was all about really Austin Taylor in that class there, Nate.
Yeah, Austin Taylor and MPG Motorsports were pretty dominant in this one. Was another driver that was able to get out to an early advantage and really walk away from the rest of the field. Hopefully for entertainment's sake, we see some other drivers find some pace overnight and be able to get to the back end of Taylor's MPG Motorsports Kart Republic. That being said, it's definitely going to be a tall ask from the rest of the drivers. Liam 4 and Bo Wyatt, you see there on the front row, getting ready to get set just behind him on the 97 MPG Motorsports machine. Grant Heckman, your Kid Kart champion from last year as well. James Fox, Diesel Maxwell following out those drivers as Liam 4 already going for a spin. Some cold conditions on karts that have the smaller rear tires as well, so that's going to make it hard for them to keep the rear end of their machines under them in these sessions, of course, with it being a lot cooler air and track temp as well. Green flag in the air for our Micro Swifts to get a lay of the land here, Caleb, and we'll have to see if anyone has anything for Austin Taylor in this session.
Yeah, we'll await for that, but the Micro Swifts now out onto the racetrack. Again, we talked about Austin Taylor, we talked about Liam 4, talked about a couple of these drivers here as well. They're getting set to go out, and we'll see what it looks like as well this morning here, Nate. Whenever the lap times do start to come in, who's kind of found some stuff, who's more comfortable on the Sunday morning, especially after a long weekend that it seems like that it's been of driving. I mean, we were here Wednesday, and that was plagued by a rainy start to the day. It looked like it was kind of flooding a little bit, and then obviously later on in the day it kind of calmed down a little bit. And then when you get into yesterday, a super cold start to it all. So it was definitely a wild one. And then obviously the All-Star race was Friday night, so that was cool to see. A lot of things that you guys have done so far, especially looking ahead to the rest of the year. You mentioned yesterday, I believe, you guys have Norway coming up, Dalsman coming up, and as well as Road America for you guys on the schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 tracks that I think a lot of people are excited to go to. The Wisconsin natives always come out in force for their tracks as well, being, of course, Briggs & Stratton Motorplex at Road America and Millwright Raceway in Dousman, Wisconsin. And then returning to Norway Motorsports Park for the first time since 2019 has a lot of people in the paddock excited, including those who are native to Illinois and call Norway Motorsports Park home. Going to be looking forward to the racing that provides as well. It's a very fun track. Was able to drive it a few years ago before the repave, of course, and now have only heard great things about what the people behind that facility are doing for the track. One of the first series actually to head back there after the revitalization of it. I know CKNA North is making their way to Norway as well. So nice to see a historic track in the Midwest getting so much traction in 2025.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely been good to see the growth as well in the Midwest over a couple of years. I mean, it's been about, I think 2022 was the last time that we streamed a Route 66 event. Actually, it was last year. Last year we were back for obviously this round with our permanent setup here at KA100 Circuit Whiteland. And again, for the return of what's set to be a full year in partnership with Mr. Chris Kardashian and Route 66. You know, it's exciting for all of us to be here, to be back at another regional, and to show, you know, the roots, the grassroots of karting, of what the series is all about. Mark Steele has talked very highly of this series and on how welcoming it's been for him, and how, you know, good it's been for him and his customers on keeping the you know, grassroots, I guess, ideology alive here this weekend. So that's been cool to see, and you know, from the likes of Mark Steele, who's been in this business for a long time. He's very happy with how they're doing it here. So for, you know, those of you in the Midwest watching at home and want to be a part of the racing action, again, make sure check out Route 66 on social media, check out their website as well, and try and get yourself ready for the next round. See if they're coming close to you. And if you want to get into some national racing action as well, the United States Pro Kart Series next weekend is getting set to go green at Trackhouse Motorplex. Not too late to register. We're 1 week away from the return, again, with a new camera system in play for them, and as well some bigger prize purses. So make sure to sign up and register today. Not too late. Only 1 week away from Trackhouse Motorplex. And again, for those of you at home, let us know where you're watching from, whether it's your couch, whether it's at home, your trailer, in the paddock, wherever it may be. We want to know. And I see some comments starting to come in. The Banks Corner, definitely a fun one. And yeah, it just comes at you super fast. Driving it yesterday, you know, we were, it was fun. It was a really, really good time. This racetrack, pretty physical, I will say. It was hard on the hands, I must say, but besides that, some tall curbs, especially going into that section.
Yeah, absolutely. You and the KC crew were able to do a couple sessions last night. No, our producer, Trevor Blue, was saying how hard it was on the ankles and having to press down.
Well, he was saying, we got up to the track this morning. He was like, man, I think I'm a little beat this morning. My calf's kind of sore. My ribs are hurting a little bit. And I look at Trevor, I'm like, dude, I don't think it's the track. I think it might just be a little old, you know? Joking around with him, but no, in all seriousness, it is a pretty physical racetrack. And, you know, for everybody out there, spoke to Antonino yesterday. He was like, I was trying to hold on to the thing because it's so physical out there. It's bumpy. You know, you're kind of bouncing through the corners, hopping through them, you know, with all the rhino liner, with the bumps. But that makes it so characteristic about this place. It's not easy to go fast here. You really have to work for it. So definitely, it's a driver's track, I would say. And you know, the best driver out there is definitely going to go out there and win here this weekend.
Yeah, physicality takes a huge role here at Whiteland as well. Yeah, Trevor doesn't do a lot of racing, but for him to be feeling that after one session, you have to think about what these drivers are going through after 3 practice sessions on Friday, 2 more practice sessions yesterday, including qualifying and a race, and now 3 sessions today with 2 races and a warm-up. It's going to take a physical toll on these drivers, so you have to think attrition is really going to come into it in most of these classes, especially the 206 Masters class that is getting set to go now. It was probably one of the races of the day, Caleb, like we were talking about earlier on in the show. Some faces who didn't have a great run in the starting phase, like Dakota Pesic, who we kind of expected to be further up the field. He gets another shot at it now as the rest of the field makes their way on to the track. One driver already going for a little bit of a half spin. That's one of the new gen drivers, and another one of the AMAX drivers as well, going for a little spin as they try to find the grip on this K1 Circuit Whiteland track. Caleb, what are you expecting going into this race? Obviously, like we said, it was one of the races of the day yesterday. We had a ton of fighting throughout. You think we're going to have the same thing like we had yesterday, or something closer to like what we saw in KA Senior, where the leader is able to extend their advantage?
Well, these are our Masters drivers, right? So I am expecting to, you know, see a little bit of pack racing for the likes of Mark Steele. Obviously, he's starting further up in the field, especially in heat race number 2. So I really think it's all about setting the pace, right? And setting the tone for the race, how it's going to progress, how it's going to go, and you know, seeing Mark race, especially on the national stuff, and seeing him race yesterday, he's a very respectable driver, and I think he's going to, you know, speaking to him yesterday, he said, man, these races are really long, and you really just have to take your time, go lap by lap, and do your thing whenever you are out there on the racetrack. There will be some new factors here this weekend. Now, the 618 entered overnight. Tom Harleman joining us here this morning. Again, was on vacation yesterday. Showed up here bright and early this morning, put that kart together, and is getting set to go green here on his Comet Eagle. But besides that, I mean, he has to catch up and against a field that already has a weekend full of practice here this weekend and has, you know, been really fast. If you look at what Mark did yesterday, what Jamie Bradford was doing yesterday as well as a couple of other drivers like Scott Hamble, you know, and a couple of others inside of the top 10 that were getting themselves into the mix. But we'll see what they can do. And I really think, you know, outside of it, we'll see some good racing action. And I'm expecting to see a lot of pack racing, especially in this one. Out in front, looked like Dakota Pesic was leading around Austin Fairfield's Busch Light powered Kart Republic out there. That livery, quite unique, I must say, Nate.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't see a lot of that in karting, but you do love to see it. Of course, it's going to be in the Masters category as well, and Austin Fairfield sporting that livery quite well. Mark Steele pulling into the pits early, deciding that's enough from that session. So we'll have to see what Mark Steele has.
His teammate as well.
Race. Yeah, 2 of the Burrell Arts and Stealth chassis into the pit lane. Wonder what they got cooking for Heat 2. Mark Steele down at 17th, not really setting a representative lap time, but of course with the cold conditions, Caleb weren't really expecting anything competitive out of him at that time. About 20 drivers in the session, down to 18th, about 5.3 seconds off. So not setting the world on fire is Mark Steele, but I don't think that would have been his game plan going into the session.
You know, I'm just not really sure. It was 2 laps there for Mark Steele, 2 laps for Kyle Landon as well. That are you know, the 2 of them pitting together under Steele Motorsports here this weekend. So we're definitely gonna have to ask, you know, what the thought process was behind it. If they were trying something or who knows what. But again, that pace just not there in the morning. I don't want to sound the alarms just yet because it could have been all part of the plan, scrubbing in a set of tires, you know, whatever, you name it. So it could have really been anything. Issues for one driver here that's just behind the barriers, coming into the pits now, actually. And we'll get a number on that once they work their way in.
It's Gabe Villapando, I believe.
Yeah, and indeed, that's 686 coming into the pits here early. So Villapando, indeed, out of the session early as well. So for some gremlins to figure out, and for others like Scott Hamble, not too bad to start off the morning. The 641 fastest in morning warm-up, a 58.046. Definitely rolling, and yesterday as well, just a matter of racing action, right? That last lap, one of the best last laps I think that we've seen in quite some time. Yesterday we talked about that race. That was the best one that we've seen, and speaking with Mark, he was like, what do you expect? He said, we're the Masters, you know, and we know how to get it done. It's always going to be some good racing, and hopefully we see more of that later on today as well.
Yeah, absolutely. With a field of this size, we're definitely going to see racing of some capacity. Hopefully we keep that at the front of the field and maybe add a few more cars to that battle for the win as well. P5 for Chris Linden at the moment. Talking with him yesterday, he was a driver that was within that top 5 fight. Had some pace to go to the front of the field, just was unable to capitalize on it. Got a little tight towards the end of his run yesterday. Said he thinks he's got something for the rest of those guys. Mark Steele and his friends, to put it the way he said, might be a little bit out of touch, but knowing Slinden, he's going to have something up his sleeve from kart setup-wise and just being able to find that extra 10th. Checkered flag in the air. Speaking of Slinden, up to 4th fastest, but it is Jamie Bradford, Scott Hamble, and Troy Tony, your top 3, and then the 2 friends of Chris Linden and Dakota Pesic rounding out the top 5.
A quick pause in the action before we get ready for more warm-up action. We'll be right back with more. You're watching Kart Chasers live coverage of Route 66.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200?
I'm tired of all this Brandon business, okay? Brandon this, Brandon that. Why are there all these expenses on AKR over $200? We know, okay? Take a walk with me. At Shop AKR, they have everything you need to start racing at a very cheap and affordable price. They have MXC rims, they got chains, electrical stands, tilt seats. They got MXCs. And if you didn't know, on top of that, any purchase in the continental US over $200, that's free shipping.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the AKR Anonymous meeting over there?
Dude, I'm doing a commercial.
Dude, we have no time. It's about to start.
Stop. We all love Shop AKR. Me? More than others. What do I get at Shop AKR?
MXC rims.
Kyle, what are you doing?
It's got my new Greyhound seat.
You don't even have a cart.
Doesn't matter. I have a Greyhound.
Who the f is Kyle Cuthbertson? Doesn't even have a go-kart.
Doesn't matter.
Cuthbertson threw on Turney. Turney in the dirt.
KA100 Circuit, the world's greatest outdoor karting facility, is now open. Open karting and rental session schedules are available online. Rentals will resume today after the race event at 5 p.m. Thanks to Kart Chaser for live streaming the event at KA100 Circuit. Your coverage will resume shortly.
DPK Americas is bridging the gap between the U.S. and the two-time world champion DPK Alonso Kart factory team in Europe.
In partnership with Team Binnick, they offer drivers a complete career path from the Americas to Europe that allows them to continue their driver development on both sides of the world, all underneath the DPK umbrella.
For more information, contact DPK Americas at max@drivensm.com to take the next step in your driver development journey today.
Are you ready to get...
So welcome back to the warm-up sessions here on Sunday for round one of the Route 66 Sprint Series here at KA100 Circuit Whiteland. Mini Swift on track now and in a lay of the land. You can see Cameron Johnson in the middle of this pack, one of the drivers that showed some pace yesterday and will be looking to try and get a win to put himself further up on the final starting grid to get another win in the past calendar year for Cameron Johnson, a driver who was so dominant in the 2024 season, but ultimately came up short in that championship. Be definitely looking to have a strong start to the season here at KA100 Circuit Whiteland. 13 drivers in the Mini Swift division this time around for our opening weekend of the 2025 series. At the moment, Will Fightinger going fastest over Danny O'Gara by only 0.02 of a second, but the gap between O'Gara and Gaddis is pretty big, isn't it, Caleb? About half a second covering Fightinger to Gaddis and around 0.4 separating second and third.
Yeah, so, you know, we're getting in the closing stages of this warm-up session and just trying whatever you didn't try yesterday or whatever you haven't tried so far this weekend. Again, this is Mini Swift presented by BBS Racing Engines. Yesterday was Dominic Gaddis. Cameron Johnson finished second in the heat race. Will Fightinger to O'Gara to Simon Jack Klein, who was just a little too late to show up to the party. But, again, we talked about when Cameron Johnson fired off. It was around lap 7. He was pretty, you know, struggling in the opening laps, and we thought it was due to low tire pressure, which, again, it probably was. And then moving in towards the later stages of the race, looks like he fell off just that little bit too early compared to Dominic Gaddis, where he was able to make that move and get it done and stick to it. So we'll see what they can do today. And again, I'm sure Jason Birdsell is going to be watching on and learning from yesterday, just that little bit of tire pressure that either he missed or you know, going into today could have probably used the same as yesterday. I don't know. I'm not a tuner. I'm just throwing stuff out there. Right? Just throwing stuff out there, right? You know, just some I wouldn't say suggestions. I guess just throwing some outside eyes. We'll see. No, but he knows what he's doing. They'll get it figured out. So. You know, yeah, but yesterday, I mean, those two kids were wicked fast. Simon Klein is also, you know, we're expecting him to get himself up there. Fightinger as well finished third. We'll see him get into the fight as well later on today. But we have more getting set to hit the racetrack, and I believe this is going to be our 206 seniors getting set to head out to the racetrack. So 2 more warm-up sessions left to go here today. Your 206 seniors, your KA100 juniors, and we head straight into heat racing action at 9:06 a.m. Again, this will be the end of our free coverage after the 2 warm-up sessions, so don't forget to become a KC Premium member for only $9.99 a month and join us later on today to watch the racing action live. And if not, you can join us on Wednesday. That'll be airing as well that day. But besides that, we have, again, a full day of main event actions, 18 laps. Heat races are going to be 14 laps, but 2 more warm-up sessions getting set to go out with 206 Senior and KA100 Jr.
Hey, and it's only live once, by the way, so you can only experience it live today and today only. So be sure to get that KC Premium membership to watch all the racing action today, because if you saw any of the highlights posted on Kart Chaser Grassroots accounts on Instagram and Facebook, which you should go follow, by the way, the action was something you don't want to miss at all, as the Fandry Daniels Racing Group makes their way out onto track. A huge contingent from those guys led by KC's own Cherry Fandry, who got the win yesterday after some close racing. Max Kraus, who's behind him on that white helmet TB Kart, was also super impressive. Yellow flags in the air for Lily Martineau, who's off in turn 2. So not the way the Legacy Driver Development pilot would want to start her morning, but Lily Martineau making the switch over from KA to 206 competition on Route 66 seems like it's suiting her driving style a little bit better, so we'll have to see what Lily can do later on in the season. On the timesheets, though, Caleb, Quentin McPherson seems to be quick in these cold conditions. He was top of the timesheets in KA Senior as well. Shane Reddy right behind him, so the 2 Coyote teammates first and second at the moment. Speaking of Coyote, Adam Maxwell in there as well. Oliver Gaffer was incredibly impressive yesterday. He's in 6th. Talk about Wyatt Leslie. He's a driver who we saw go hard into the barriers on the front straight here. He was down at the chassis jig last night trying to get that OTK machine all straight and ready to go for today. Got it all good and straight, so we'll have to keep a lookout for Wyatt Leslie starting from the rear of the field.
Yeah, we'll see what Wyatt Leslie can do. And again, I'm not even going to try to say Quentin's name today because apparently I got it wrong all day yesterday. I'm adding an A in between the muck. See, I can't even get there. But there's been a lot of judgment towards my pronunciation of Quentin's name, so I'm just going to call him Quentin all day long. Not even going to try today here. How about Adam Maxwell? That's an easy one, right?
Can't mess that
the
one up.
578 just set the fastest lap of the morning warm-up session on lap number 3 of 57.741, and he was actually chasing down Jerry Fandry yesterday. And again, to me, it just was like a little bit of a difference in gear, right? It was I'm better here, you're better there, and at the end it just evened out, and it was almost, it was. Maxwell would catch in some corners, couldn't pass, and just couldn't get that move done on Fandry towards the end of the race. But besides that, either making a change on the gear or for Fandry making a change on the gear after seeing and watching some of the broadcasts, seeing where they were catching. And to me, it seemed a little bit like Maxwell would really catch into the banked corner into turn 12. And then besides that, Fandry was good pretty much everywhere else, and so that could either be a thing of Maxwell being on a lower gear, so more top end for them, and Fandry being on that higher gear where he's better through the corners, and that's where I think he missed a little bit on the straightaway. It could be half, a half gear or maybe even a full tooth that they're missing out, but it could have been anything. Besides that, I think some of the drivers that were super impressive yesterday, I mean, you talk about Oliver Gaffer, who was up there coming out of the B group. Max Kraus, the rookie, to me was one of the most impressive as well yesterday. Again, being his either his second or his rookie year in this class. It's been his rookie year, indeed, Nate. It's been impressive to see how he's progressed. And again, speaking of Jerry's dad yesterday and last night, saying that they've done a lot of work in the offseason, putting in laps, going to the track and doing everything to kind of get adjusted to those TB carts and whatever they needed. The biggest story, I feel like, yesterday, you talked about Wyatt Leslie and what happened to him into the wall. Yesterday, early, again, we missed it, and hearing from the paddock, we're just in a blind corner down here, so not a lot of people saw what happened, but again, unfortunate for him, going to have to start at the rear today, so we're going to be looking out for him to try and work his way up, but you have to look at, the entry list and how many drivers we have here this weekend, 25. We have long races, so it does fall into his hands a little bit, but besides that, it's a lot of work to put yourself into, especially in heat race number 2. You think about the averages going into the main event. It's obviously not helpful to kind of where you want to get to at the end of this weekend, all right? We're here for race wins, and it all starts at the first race of the season. If you want to be a champion at the end of the year, it starts here. It starts throughout the heat races. It starts throughout heat 2. I was mentioning it yesterday, right? Those heat races are those championship points where you need that last point or two that are going to make the difference this year.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, and that's how Jerry Fandry won his championship last year. He didn't win a single main event, but he was so consistent throughout the heat races. He was able to pip Cale Zimmerman by just about 7 points, I think, come the end of the season at Millwright Raceway. Checkered flag is in the air. Quentin McPherson going fastest overall over Adam Maxwell. Oliver Gaffer, the rookie from Hudson, Wisconsin. How about that? The impressive weekend for him continues. Wyatt Leslie, that card is definitely straight and fast, Caleb. That is 4th fastest for Wyatt. And then Shane Reddy rounding out your top 5. Interesting to note, there is not a Jerry Fandry inside that top 10. Same with Max Kraus as well. Very interesting. There's a couple of TB carts going down the pit entry. Not sure what's going on there. A little bit of confusion. But yeah, everyone will get sorted and get going the right way as checkered flag is out.
I'm not gonna lie, I did the same mistake yesterday because of how the pit entry changed overnight and changed as well when after the lunch break. That was a little bit surprising to me. I already knew that. I have no idea why I did it, but I did, and for a lot of them, it could be a little bit of the same case, right? But besides that, we have a little bit. We're gonna have to wait for this pit lane to clear up just a bit. We'll take a break to catch our breaths, but KA100 Jr getting set to hit the racetrack next.
DPK Americas is bridging the gap between the U.S. and the 2-time world champion DPK Kart factory team in Europe.
In partnership with Team Binnick, they offer drivers a complete career path from the Americas to Europe that allows them to continue their driver development on both sides of the world, all underneath the DPK umbrella.
For more information, contact DPK Americas at max@drivensm.com to take the next step in your driver development journey today.
you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
Hey, what's up, Caleb?
What's up, Brandon?
You sound defeated. Long day at the office?
Yeah, got stuck at a cat food marketing meeting for like 3 hours. I don't know a thing about cat food, and I don't even work in marketing. And then I got sent on a coffee run like I was some sort of intern. Then at the end of the day, when I want to go get gas, I just realized everything is so darn expensive nowadays, man.
Yeah, you got that right.
Like, do you have any idea how much we're spending on Netflix?
That's like 20 bucks a month.
Do you know how much we're spending on cable?
That's like 50 bucks a month.
But you know what isn't expensive?
Tell me.
Kart Chaser Premium. For only $9.99 a month, you can watch all the American karting action live from coast to coast. Subscribe and become a member today.
The K1 Circuit Semi-Pro League. This is a competitive race series with two classes. Junior Series for those who are under the age of 18, and the Senior Series for those who are 18 or older. If you think you have what it takes, come out and prove your skills on League Night. Both schedules are live on the K1 Circuit website. Your Kart Chaser live feed will resume shortly.
The last warm-up session of the morning and of the weekend, we should say. Already on the racetrack, 3 laps in. Ben Abernathy quickest so far to Brady Shad, Landon Boer, Tutwiler, and John Antonino Jr., your winner from yesterday. And again, it wasn't smooth sailing for him. At the end, it definitely got a little bit scary, catching up to some lap traffic and throwing a wrench at things. And speaking to him, he said, I've never had to deal with anything like that. I've never had my nerves go as high, especially for a race like this. And again, he's going to be running this year with the MPG Academy boys, getting ready for the United States Pro Kart Series that goes to Trackhouse Motorplex next weekend in Mooresville, North Carolina. So for John Antonino, again, a little bit of threw a wrench at things for him yesterday, but was able to capitalize at the end of the day. Again, still, hardware comes on the Sunday where he has to go back again for another heat race today, heat race number 2, and for the main event at the end of it. But Ben Abernathy, again, seems like that rental kart experience definitely doing him some little bit of help, a little bit of extra practice through some of the corners here, and doing him well at the top of the timing charts at 51 point. Now just got quicker at 50.669, and it changes to Brady Shad, and then it changes again to John Antonino, and it's going to keep changing until we close this one out here, Nate.
I mean, Abernathy and Antonino were in that rental kart race last night that you were in, so that was probably a few things you taught them.
Antonino wasn't, I tell you what, Antonino wasn't, but Abernathy was, and again, rolled a black flag for one driver here. Not sure who it was or for what as well, but again, looks like there's just some elbows out racing, a little bit over the limit here in the morning, so just getting everybody calm down. Again, it's just a morning warm-up session, fellas. We're just making sure we're going quick in the morning, getting ready for, you know, the action later on today. No need to get yourself in a scrum, especially this early. And we have some change. Once again, it's Antonino to Jamalev, Shad, Abernathy, Majeski's up there now. And they all start to get in their groove for the heat races and the main events as well later on in the day. Nate, before we get to the end of our warm-up sessions, before we get into heat racing and main event action, I guess what are your closing thoughts on what's been already a good first day in a warm-up session, or 2 days for you that you've been here since I think Thursday, Friday, getting here for the setup. So I guess before we head into the premium stream, recap, before we get into the action later on today.
I mean, all I can say is Sunday at Whiteland always delivers. The finals are always races you have to watch no matter what the class. So be sure to join us on the premium stream. Get that KC membership going. And of course, it's not just for this weekend. You'll be able to watch the United States Pro Kart Series head back to Trackhouse Motorplex next weekend. That's a race you don't ever want to miss, Caleb, with all the battling that you see at Trackhouse, no matter what series goes there as well. You don't want to miss that. But for this weekend, be sure to tune in to the premium stream. We have a ton of racing action going on today that you are not going to want to miss.
And from myself, Caleb Yeska, from Nate Dean, we thank you guys for joining us for the morning warm-ups. We'll see you guys on the other side.
If you